News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Okay, from Zero Hedge. For millions of Americans, the holiday season will be a season of very deep suffering. I guess I'm whizzing in your Cheerios here. Here, I'll share some of what this report says. If you live in a warm home and you have plenty of food to eat, you should consider yourself to be extremely blessed. Millions of others are deeply suffering right now. Most of the country is living paycheck to paycheck. The number of homeless Americans is higher than ever. Demand at food banks is back to pandemic levels. And many victims of Hurricane Helene are living in very thin tents and not getting the help they need from the government. Children in the mountains of western North Carolina are literally shivering in the freezing cold all night long because their parents have nowhere else to go. Nearly 2 months since Helene hit, hundreds of local families are left with nowhere to go. Now some of these children are living in tents and cars as their parents try desperately to find a new home. One of the parents is a woman named Dana Wunsch. She showed News 13 the camper where she and her partner, along with their 2 daughters, are now staying. While FEMA personnel in North Carolina are sleeping in heated trailers, this is so emblematic of Joe Biden's America. While FEMA personnel in North Carolina are sleeping in heated trailers, many victims of the Hurricane Helene, are sleeping in extremely flimsy tents that look like they could literally be blown away at any moment. Could you imagine having your kids sleep in a flimsy tent night after night? And they're facing snow and very high winds, gusts up to 50 miles an hour or greater right now over there. Overall, there have been $24 billion disasters in the U.S. so far this year. Talking about that. But then it goes on. 22% of all U.S. renters say that their regular income goes towards rent payments. 22%. So they say that all their regular income goes toward rent payments. 19% of renters say they have worked a job that they hated to afford rent. Well, that's life, right? That happens sometimes. Just over 1 in 5 renters say that all regular income goes directly into paying their rent. Working a second job is also fairly common for renters to pay housing costs. 20% of renters citing that method. Nearly the same amount say they've worked a job that they hated to afford the rent. All of your income is going to pay rent. You are just one step away from being homeless. According to Bank of America, from 2019 to 2024, there was a 10% jump in those that are living paycheck to paycheck. And then more than a quarter of Americans say that they have necessary expenses that chew up more than 95% of their take-home pay. And nearly a third say they spend 90% of their income on critical things like groceries, utility bills, insurance, childcare. So, and there's a 10% increase from 2019 to 2024. 10% more are living paycheck to paycheck than 2019. So he writes, economic pain is all around us and the cost of living just continues to grow even higher. Once upon a time, you would make $50,000 a year, you're doing well. Now, the average American believes it takes $270,000 a year to be financially successful. That's a myth. You don't need that. But here, the vast majority of us are trying to survive. That's what the story says. Unfortunately, the outlook for a year ahead is not good because of our economic momentum heading in the wrong direction very rapidly. There's weakness in the housing market and manufacturing, higher jobless claims. Leading indicators the economy could slow down again for the 8th consecutive month in October. So here's what it says. The last thing here. We are in far more trouble than most people realize, and an immense amount of pain is ahead of us. So I look at this, and I think about, I talked to a friend. I connected with a good friend I have not talked to in a couple decades. It was pretty amazing, actually. And they work in the same industry that I do. And they don't have a full-time job right now like I do. And they haven't had many fill-ins One of my buddies said it's been several months since I had my last fill. And he's like, I'm just barely getting by. And then I look at myself, and I'm fully employed. I'm blessed with a 24-year marriage. I've got 2 kids. They're doing very well. And not only do I have my job, but I also have my side business filling in, and I have a lot of stuff on my radar that I'm doing. So I'm like kind of the opposite. And I got off the phone and I realized just how blessed I am. And I think a lot of us don't realize how blessed we really are. And I think a lot of us don't realize how fortunate we are. And so I'll ask you a few questions here. I'd love for you to chime in. Are you or somebody that you know suffering this Christmas season? Struggling to get by? And if so, how are you or somebody that you know struggling? And what are you grateful for in light of this? And by the way, there's another friend of mine that I think about that is not in my industry, but a similar type of industry. And it's the same thing for them. And I think there's so many people out there that we don't realize are just getting by, or that are struggling to just get by. And they don't tell you because you don't want to go around telling people, hey, I'm just getting by. Hey, how are you? Oh, not good at all. It's terrible. I'm barely making it. I don't even know how I'm going to pay for my bills next month. But I think there's a lot more than we realize. And what's interesting is there's probably a lot more people that are just getting by, but you don't know it. Not only that, but they don't act like it, and they're not hiding. They have a joy inside of themselves, even though they're in that position. And that's remarkable. I think what I just want to do is have an ability for people to share what you or somebody you know is going through right now as far as the difficulty of making ends meet. So that's my questions for you. Are you or somebody you know suffering this Christmas season, struggling to get by? And if that's the case, then how so? And what are you grateful for in light of this? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. So after I talked to my friend, I realized, my gosh, look at you. You know, I have a full-time job, and I love it. And it's the blessings. We think, oh, my life sucks. And only when you realize there's people out there that you know, that you love, and you're like, that are not doing well at all. And then you're like, man, what am I complaining about? I am doing amazingly well. It's perspective. I think a lot of us don't have that perspective, don't realize how fortunate we are, how blessed we are. So I think it's a good time right now to talk about that. And you know, what are you going through, and what are you, if there's people out there that you know that are going through stuff, how difficult is it right now? Is it to make ends meet or struggling? And the more we hear about these things, the more we realize how blessed we are. I know I might be talking in a circle here, but I'd like to share that perspective. I'd like for other people to share that perspective. Man, I think so many of us do not know how good we got it. And there was another thing too. This is kind of how this whole article started out on Zero Hedge. If you live in a warm home and you have plenty of food to eat, you should consider yourself to be extremely blessed, because millions of others are deeply suffering right now. And you think, oh, this is America. They can't be deeply suffering. Well, they feel like they are. All right. 4 lines are open, 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. Would love to hear your story on that. Are you or somebody you know suffering this Christmas season, struggling to get by? And if so, how? And what are you grateful for in light of this? That is coming up next. Plus, we're going to talk about we got some airline crazies. All right, we'll talk to Catherine in Fort Worth coming up next. All right, Catherine, you'll be on in 2 minutes at 9:17. Plus your call, 800-288-WBAP. And then this is going to be great. We got 2 back-to-back wild stories about planes. A father who was attacked by, and I don't usually say racist, but this is what happened, was definitely racist. A racist Karen on a United Airlines shuttle. And a Delta airline passenger sparks a heated exchange after asking a fellow traveler to be quiet. We're going to talk about that also. All that's coming up next as well on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. 800-288-WBAP is our number. Oh, this will be fun. Father who was attacked by racist Karen on United Airlines shuttle reveals what prompted her vitriol. I've got the audio. Delta, we'll also talk about Delta plane passenger sparks heated exchange after asking fellow traveler to be quiet. I have a story from my son on his return flight back to the States from Japan. He had a Karen on something, and I forgot all about it. And then Friday night, we were driving to I was hanging out with him. We had fun, these spontaneous times. We went to the gas station to get a couple things, and he reminded me about that Karen on the airline flight. We'll talk about that coming up in a minute. You can share your stories on that too. But for millions of Americans, this holiday season will be a season of very deep suffering. Zero Hedge reports talking about how so many people in this country right now are living paycheck to paycheck because of Bidenomics. Are you or somebody you know suffering this Christmas season, struggling to get by, and how so? And what are you grateful for in light of this? And I was telling you about one of my buddies who's just getting by right now, and it's very tough. And here I am and he's doing some fill-ins. It's been very sparse for him. And I'm like, gosh, I'm doing lots of fill-ins and I got a full-time job. I got nothing to complain about. Other than maybe I'm working too much. I get too tired, beat myself up too much. But the check's nice when you get it. Okay. It's just a time to really realize how grateful and how blessed we are. 800-288-WBAP is our number. Share your stories. Catherine, Fort Worth, you are on WBAP. What do you got?
Thank you. I just wanted to share that definitely have suffered under Bidenomics and really just living paycheck to paycheck because I'm a single parent, not by choice, but I'm still raising a child, and I'm trying to homeschool her, but I can't work full time because I also need to be a parent to my child.
Right.
So if I didn't, have a child, I could definitely, get 2 or 3 jobs. But so it's really hard, and I needed something for the car, and I'm talking to the Lord how I'm going to do that. And so the Lord provided, somebody gifted me some money to be able to provide what my car needed. And so I'm just so thankful for people like that. But also at the same time, I'm just thankful that we have a place to live, that we have heat, running water, air. We have a good time together, my child and I.
You cannot buy memories.
Right.
And what's important is you're making memories now, and making memories doesn't have to cost anything. Yes.
So even in the midst of, the hard oppression and the cost of everything, still finding joy, and trying to make those memories in spite of, the situation. So,
I love what you're sharing with us. And then, one of the things I learned, one of my mentors taught me, never ask for money, but ask for what you need, right? Mm-hmm. And so, when you have a car issue, I need my car fixed. I need this issue fixed with my car versus I need money to fix my car. Very interesting. Good. I never had heard that before until my mentor shared that with me. I'm like, that's a darn good thing to say. And I catch myself still asking that way. And it's like, no. What do I need? Ask for what you need. I need a car, or I need this, or I need that.
That's good, yeah.
Thank you very much, Catherine, for sharing. And I know how tough it is homeschooling. I was talking to my buddy who I was mentioning, reconnecting for years later, and he said, "How do you homeschool?" And I said, well, actually, if we can do it, anybody can. But it's the curriculum, and you get a good curriculum and you follow it. And honestly, the only times we start having problems is once you get into high school. I can't do the math.
Family.
Yeah, I probably stop at about sophomore year of math. That's it. Yeah, not even geometry. I can't even remember anything from that either. Yeah, that's why I'm in radio. This is brain surgery. This over here, radio is brain surgery, but it's not mathematical. I'm just kidding. All right, thank you, Catherine. Have a wonderful night. All right, thank you. All right, 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, this is a twofer on airline issues, airline rage. This Karen is, and I don't usually say something like racist, like the news will call it racist. Like, no, your job isn't to tell us what's racist and what's not. You're supposed to say people say is, or racially insensitive, da-da-da. You don't tell us it's racist. But this guy, this is directly racist because the woman attacks him for being Indian and claims he is not an American. But she's also just vicious and nasty. And you see this person, she looks like a pretty attractive woman, but she's nasty. She's miserable. And you'll hear her venom at this guy and how it plays out. And then another one is this Delta passenger sparking a heated exchange after asking a fellow traveler to be quiet. You might want to think twice before you ask somebody sitting next to you to be quiet on the plane. We'll talk about that, and I'm going to tie it in with my son on his return flight from Japan about, 3 months ago when he came back. And you'll never believe what this woman did to my son as they were getting off the plane, what she said to him. It was unreal, very off-putting and rude and wrong. So we'll talk about what kind of conflicts you've had with others while you're traveling. All that's coming up next on the Chris Crock Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3. That's coming up at 9:33. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Well, you know, a lot of us traveled on the planes going to and fro for Thanksgiving, or you drove, something of that nature. But that also can mean you have some conflicts with people in the air. And we have two of those, as reported over the weekend, or actually today. Father who was attacked by a, quote, racist Karen on United Airlines shuttle reveals what prompted the woman's vitriol. He was seated, okay, he got a free business class bump up, but just one seat. And so he offered to give it to his 11-year-old son. So one free business upgrade. So he was 3 rows behind his child. He went up to check on the kid at some point, and that's when he first interacted with this woman. You're going to hear her going after him in a rant, a nasty rant. And he says he went up to check on his son. He was there for a couple seconds. Some lady comes up from behind me who's coming from the bathroom and says, "Can I get into my seat?" He says, I'm like, "Yes, of course." I moved aside. She gets into her seat and she's muttering under her breath. I didn't think anything of it at the time. After the plane landed, see, some of this stuff happens after they land. After the plane landed and they were being ushered into the shuttle, his son revealed the woman was asking him uncomfortable questions during the flight. "Hey," the son told Dad, "hey, that lady was asking me, are you Indian?" And I said, "Yes." And then she asked me if I'm from New Delhi, and I said, "No, I'm from Bombay." What the heck, right? 10-year-old kid. We walked into the bus, and literally my son, the little guy, goes, "Oh my gosh, that's a plane." My little child's like, yeah, it's your favorite plane. What is your favorite? Is that your favorite plane? They're both obsessed with planes, he says. And then within a second of that, the same lady on the shuttle says, "Shut up, just shut up." She stuck both of her middle fingers up at this man, who you're going to hear from in a second. And you're going to hear her talk about, "Your family's from India. You have no respect for the rules. You think you can push everyone. That's what you think you are. You guys are effing crazy." And then I'm going to record your effing tandoori A word. Is tandoori a slang word for Indian people or something? Producer Garrett's looking that up. Your tandoori stinky A word. And he says the most upsetting, and I'll play this in a sec. He says the most upsetting part of this experience was that other people on the shuttle remained quiet as she was attacking them. A United employee came on the shuttle, started talking to the woman as other riders shouted, asking her to take the woman off the bus. He says the real travesty is nobody helped us except for one guy. What does tandoori mean? Is it a slang? Oh, it's a form of cooking, like tandoori chicken. Wow, that's some deep racial racism, huh? Like, what the heck is this? This woman's crazy, huh? He was the only guy. That was the only thing. Only one guy. He says that upset me the most. That's what upset me, to be honest. We felt so alone. My wife and I and our 3 kids getting beat up by this lady and all this nonsense. Isn't that horrible? He felt so alone. A man, his wife, his kids. Let me play the audio.
Your family is from India. You have no respect. You have no rules. You think you can push everyone? Push. That's what you think you are. You guys are crazy.
Indian people are crazy. You told me to have some more curry, right?
Yeah, here.
Have some more curry?
To record your tandoori.
Please do. My tandoori.
Yeah, your tandoori sticky.
Wow.
Yeah. Want some more?
Please, by all means.
Some more?
Sweetheart, no, you can remove her, though, from being rude and racist right now. Can you do that or no?
It doesn't care about racist. You're racist towards me. I'm American.
So are we.
You're not American.
No? Not American?
Not originally, no. You're from...
I was born in America.
No, you weren't.
Yes, I
saw
was.
Your passport.
Yeah, you want to see my passport? Is that going to make you happy?
Shut up! Here, this is like
It's amazing. I thought I only saw this stuff on the internet, but no. Karen's right here.
I'm angry.
This is toxic, massively toxic. Telling my kids to shut up. You got a mouth on you, sweetheart. Drink some more, sweetheart.
A peek into the sick mind of one person sitting by you on a plane. There's some real sick minds out there, aren't there? That is a sick-minded woman. She's got a sick mind. She's got a lot wrong with her. She's not aware of this. This woman's got a lot of sickness in there. I agree with him. It's horrible that nobody stood up except for one man. Isn't that sick? What's wrong with people? You're afraid of offending some crazy woman? You're not going to stand up for humanity? You're going to stand up for somebody, a human being being abused, being treated because he's Indian American, some way? What's wrong with people? I know myself enough to know that I don't shut my mouth. I open my mouth. And sometimes I do it to my detriment. But in this case, I would I'd be more vocal than him. You know why? Because I've been in situations something like this before, and I want to be the most vocal. I want to stand up for him. I want to be his advocate. He shouldn't have to defend himself like that. Somebody should stand up and defend him. Particularly a white person. To stand up to this white woman and say, what the hell's wrong with you? What are you doing? Shame on you. You're sick. So one guy went there and taught, it's a long video, so I just pulled some cuts for you. Here's one more. I'll play one more for you in a second, but one guy was out there telling them when they were kind of investigating it, the airline people and stuff, and one guy was out there standing saying, yeah, he didn't do anything wrong. She was just saying these things, and it's horrible. But nobody else would. What's wrong with people? I don't even want to say. I think that the people on that shuttle were just as bad as other people out there. I think it's humanity. They don't want to stand up for anybody. They're afraid. Shame on you. Shame on you if you don't say something and stand up. You don't have to be a fool and an idiot, like light your hair on fire, and act a fool and get thrown off the plane yourself. But I mean, shame on you for not standing up. For those of you who don't stand up, for anybody who doesn't stand up, shame on anyone that would, including myself if I didn't do that. Here's the guy afterwards in the airport.
A quick update. The police are looking to arrest her. She was incredibly abusive. Her husband got in my face and all this nonsense. But United handled this like a champ, and basically is going to put her on a no-fly list. So, yep, crazy people.
Can you believe she said you're not American? You weren't born in America? Isn't this woman sick? She makes you think of like a Hitler sick. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she can't, like seriously, whoa, this woman's sick. Okay, and then you got another case here. Delta plane passenger sparks heated exchange after asking a fellow traveler to be quiet. The guy was reprimanded after asking a fellow flyer to be quiet. He was begging the woman to turn down the volume on her loud phone call. The guy explains while sitting at Salt Lake City Sky Club Lounge, he asked the woman to use earbuds because she was disturbing others in the suite. Isn't that he had her on speaker? She had him on speaker. People sitting there with a speakerphone talking? What's wrong with these people? What's wrong with you? That's all I'm asking is what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? What's wrong? But what are you doing? Why would we want to hear anything? Producer David, my old producer David, who I'm still very close with but no longer works here, he's a traitor. He abandoned me. He's cheating on me. Some other job. But when he is at the workout place, and some idiot's got their playing music on their phone out loud or something like that, he'll start doing something on his phone really loudly, and just act like everything's normal. I'm like, oh gosh, he's so funny. I don't do that, but at some point I might say something. I've done that before, but not like a jerk. So. Passenger went on Reddit and explained the situation, said he had a heated debate with this person in the Sky Club. So he was accused of being rude. When he asked her to turn it down, after hearing enough of the call, he stood up and begged the woman to finish her exchange through her headphones. His request was met with shock as she gave him a slew of snarky looks. She was stunned that anyone would ask her to quiet down and then branded the man incredibly rude. One of the ways to mess with this woman might be to join in a conversation. Like, oh, that's fun. Or no, I wouldn't do that. Just start talking to him, whoever she's talking to. No, I would, as if you three are in a conversation or something. Well, I'm sorry. I'm listening to your conversation. I'm having fun. Okay, the woman on my son's plane, I want to tell you about that coming up next. But here's my question. What kind of conflicts have you had with others while you're traveling? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. What kind of conflicts have you had with others while you're traveling? And how did it play out? I'm going to tell you about my son on the airline back to Japan, on the flight back to Japan, from Japan to the States. There was a woman, and there was an issue going on, and he was texting his fiance, my son was, on this woman and her kid, and she was apparently looking over his shoulder, like in the seat behind him or something, and she read what his texts were. Like she was looking. She was looking at my son's phone on the seat in front of her, looking at what he was writing. What in God's name are you doing, woman? Have you ever done that? Stared at somebody's phone to see what they're typing? What the heck? Somebody did that to my kid. Now he's 21 now, but the point is, who does this? Who stares at your phone and figures out what you're typing? Maybe when you hear what the issue was, you'll understand why she was doing this. But then she didn't say anything when she read it. She waited, passive aggressive, as they were getting off the plane into the airport, and she said something to him. We'll talk about that next as well. So what kind of conflicts have you had with others while you're traveling? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. I have a pleasant experience on my last time I was traveling. I'll tell you about in a twist of a good story. All that next on the Chris Crock Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3, 800-288 WBAP is our number. All right, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. 800-288 WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. All right, so first we got this guy who lets his kid, they get one free business class upgrade. So he lets his 10-year-old or 11-year-old, something like that, 11-year-old, sit in the business class seat three aisles ahead, and or 3 rows ahead. And afterwards, his kid tells his dad, "Hey, Dad, that lady sitting next to me, she was asking me if I'm Indian," which they are. They're Indian Americans. And I said yes, and she asked me if I'm from New Delhi. I said no, I'm from Bombay. And you're like, why would some adult lady ask my 10-year-old kid? I mean, that reminds me of a friend of mine who's extremely outrageously hairy Italian man. I mean, this guy has a wig trying to crawl out of his back. Like he'd wear like the t-shirt, and the freaking hair was like coming out from the back like a monster. He's Italian. And he was my old producer from Atlanta, and we're still good friends. We still stay in touch and stuff. But the man had hair problems. He could donate his back hair to Locks of Love every month. And they say, okay, at some point they'd be like, okay, you've given us too much hair. Now we all the children are clothed with hair, or they're cloaked in hair now for the next 5 years. Could please stop donating now? Donate your hair to a hair farm or something. And some little kid went up to him. This is like in rural Atlanta, or actually like a suburban or exurb of Atlanta. And the kid's like, he literally came up to him at the restaurant and said, "What are you?" I'll never forget my buddy telling me about that. I'm like, "What are you?" A little kid comes up, "What are you?" How do you answer that question? What are you? I'm a human being. What are you? What is this? What is it? At least that kid was a little kid. That's his excuse, I guess. But oh my gosh. Anyway, so that lady was hurling horrible racial things at the Indian guy on the plane, and then now you have a Delta plane passenger was on Reddit talking about this, and Daily Mail reported it today. Delta plane passenger sparks heated exchange after asking fellow traveler to be quiet. Currently in the Salt Lake City Sky Club, a woman was on a speakerphone with what sounded like a young child. This is a fairly large club, but even so, we could all hear the child, and I was sitting 30 feet away. Oh my gosh, what are you doing? On a speakerphone. Hello, everybody. Do you want to hear my son? My little kid? He's so cute. Who wants to hear my child? I'll put it on speakerphone. And so he says, since I read comments all the time where people say to approach the person, I walked up to her and said, "Excuse me, would you mind using headphones? That's louder than you realize. We can all hear you." She seemed shocked. What is wrong with people? Are you stupid? Are people this stupid? They just don't realize, they don't care, they don't realize there's others around them? What if there's like 5 other ladies with their kids on speakerphone talking to them, like all over the same little room? What is wrong with people? And anyway, she said, but she did either turn the volume down or use headphones because we can no longer hear her. Success. Was I rude? No, he wasn't rude. Anyways, my son, I want to hear from you. What kind of conflicts have you had with others while you're traveling? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. So my son is on this, 12-hour flight back to the States from Japan, and some lady's got a little kid on there, like a 1.5-year-old or some baby, and the kid's freaking crying the whole way. And so he's texting his fiance. He's like, I can't believe this. I don't remember what exactly, but something like, I can't believe this woman brought a freaking baby on an international flight. What's wrong with her? And so this freaking insane, crazy woman was apparently staring through the gaps of the seats, looking at my son texting, and read what he wrote. And then after he's deplaning, and you go on, you get off the plane, and you're either in that hallway, going to the airport, or in the airport right away. She said to him, "How dare you?" Something like, "How dare you? I can't believe you said that about my son." And he's like, "Wait, what? Were you reading my texts?" I can't remember exactly what he said, but he was. I mean, he's a quick. He's a very. He likes to punk people and mess with people, and he loves pissing people off. Excuse my language, like I do. But it was. He was so shocked, he just couldn't believe that the woman read what he was texting, and then waited to kind of jump him, quote unquote, after they got off the plane. What is wrong with her? Now I know why she brought her kid on an international flight, because she doesn't care about anybody else, and she's so busy not worrying about her kid and staring at the phones of other people. Look at your kid, it's crying. And his whole thing is, why are you flying internationally with a kid when you don't have to? He says, I understand. We talked about it again the other day. I understand if you're moving, or if you have to move, or you're leaving the whole country because you're moving. That's different. But why are you taking them on vacation? So he said that to her. He's like, why do you even bring a little kid on vacation? Leave it at home. I don't want to leave my kid. Well, then don't come on a plane. He basically told her. What's wrong with people? All right, coming up next, sales of Bibles are booming, the Wall Street Journal reports, fueled by first-time buyers, and new version publishers attribute to a 22% jump in Bible sales. Rising anxiety, they say. We'll talk about that coming up next on the Chris Kroc Show on News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3.